Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Guess what? No hot mic, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. That's how you do it, Sim. No hot mic. But anyway, let's get to the matter at hand, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, Leon Rose had a conversation with the fans. Well, not exactly with the fans, but he spoke to us, ladies and gentlemen. Finally addressed the media, if that's what you want to call it. And I want to find out what you think about it. I want to know what you heard. Right? Because everyone's going to hear it a little bit different. Let me fix my screen over here. Everyone's going to hear it just a little bit different. So I want to know what you heard. We'll listen to some clips from the show. All right, he spoke with Mike Breen for about 30 minutes, 25 minutes or so. He spoke with Mike Breen tonight, and it was a decent conversation. So I want to know what you think about it. Play a couple of clips, give you a chance to call in, and we'll talk about it. So let's first listen. Obviously, the big news for today is that he hired. The big news for today is that he hired William Wesley, Worldwide Wes, as we know him, as an executive vice president, senior advisor, executive vice president. So let's take a listen to what he had to say about Worldwide Wes and what Worldwide Wes brings to the team and what his role will be with the team. Then I'm going to ask you to call in. Talk to me about what you heard and what you think. All right, so let's take a listen. This is Leon Rose talking about Worldwide Wes.
Wes is one of the most well-respected and connected people in the basketball community. And I just think he's going to bring so much to our organization in various areas. First and foremost, he's always been a great mentor to players, coaches, agents, just people. He's an incredible person who I've known for 40 years, over 40 years, really. And I just think that, as I said before, this business is built on relationships. It's built on how you treat people. It's built on working hard. It's built on all these characteristics that Wes possesses, and that I think getting someone of that stature, character into our organization is something that's going to benefit us greatly.
All right, let's stop it right there. Worldwide Wes. Look, clearly, and we talked about it earlier today, Worldwide Wes has a ton of connections and experience in the NBA. And you can't replace that. Can't replace that. There's a ton of people that just know who he is. And he seems to be able to, get things done. He's been able to get things done throughout his time in the NBA. So for those who didn't get a chance to get your piece in about Worldwide Wes, I'm going to open up the microphone, open up the telephones for a couple of minutes. And I want to hear what your thoughts are about Worldwide Wes and what you just heard from Leon Rose. I think he, laid it out pretty clear about what, what he expects from Worldwide Wes and what he might be able to bring to this team. I, for one, think that it's a very good hire. Every team needs one of those guys that can work the underworld of the NBA. And Worldwide Wes is one of those guys that can work the underworld of the NBA. Guillermo just joined us. Real quick, Guillermo, and I spoke to you earlier today.
Yeah.
Worldwide Wes, man. You heard Leon Rose just, kind of break down the same things that we broke down earlier today. He's got a lot of connections. They've known each other for 40 years. They've been working together for 40 years. He decided to, take the step into, being an executive in the NBA for the New York Knicks. Those two guys obviously have a connection that he felt he could bring to the Knicks and help to make the Knicks a better organization. And he and James Dolan, talking about World Wide West, already have a relationship. So, what do you...
Yeah, same thing like I said before, man. He's a snake, but, I'm happy that he's on our team. You don't want him to be the guy fleecing us. You want him to help us fleece other teams. So I think this is a good hire. I don't think it's going to be... Again, I think it's a nice combined effort where you're going to get a lot of organic build, proper scouting, going to build a team, and then you're going to use guys like World Wide West to continue to survey the college basketball landscape, survey the NBA landscape, try to get us those players. I don't think we're going to get the Giannis's and stuff like that yet, but if we get those second level free agents who push us over the hump, get us to the 40, get us to the 50 win mark, I think it's going to serve its purpose. So I like the hire. Like I said, he's like Goldfinger from not Goldfinger, Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. He sneaks around. If you read his story, it's like no one knows who he is, like what he is, but everybody knows who he is. You know what I mean? It's like where the hell he come from? So
he's like Kramer.
Like who?
Like Kramer.
Oh, from Seinfeld.
From Seinfeld, right? Nobody knows what he does, but he's always into something.
That's a very good point. But yeah, sure.
Kramer or what's it called from Martin? What's his name? Tommy. Nobody knew what his job was, right?
All right. That's different.
Nobody knew what Tommy did, but he had money. He was able to take care of himself and do what he does, but nobody knew what Tommy did.
Sure.
Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah,
man.
so that's and your head is kind of falling out the screen again.
Oh, sorry.
I know you're leaning back in the chair. You just take the just take the and lay it down. Leon Rose said a lot tonight, though. Let's listen to what Mike Breen asked him about his procedure for hiring the next head coach and some must-have characteristics. You guys probably have heard this. I'm pretty sure everyone that's on this chat right now listen to the interview, but we'll listen to it again and then give our reaction. So this is Leon Rose on the procedures for hiring the next head coach and some must-have characteristics for the next head coach. Take a listen.
Yeah, first I want to just say that I couldn't agree with you more. It was a short period of time, but what I witnessed before I was here and what I saw being around Mike Miller, first class, did a great job in a very difficult situation, and we're so appreciative of that. And Mike is the first person that we talked to we're setting it up in two phases. We're having shorter meetings, kind of break the ice with the various candidates, and then we're going to have full interviews with the candidates. And Mike obviously is one of those candidates. And that's going to we're anticipating that to go to mid to late July. And hopefully by the end of July, make a decision, whether it's to keep Mike or to go in a different direction. But, it's very exciting. There's a lot of really great candidates that I'm not going to get into who the candidates are, but there's a lot of, it's exciting. I mean, we're looking at a lot of different people with a lot of different mindsets, philosophies. And, for me personally, this is educational, and I need to make sure that we go through this process and we dot every I and cross every T in order to make the right decision.
Are any particular characteristics a must?
We want to find the right leader that can develop our young players as well as hold everyone accountable and take us from development to becoming a perennial winner. We also want somebody that we think that will be collaborative with the front office and, someone that when you're in that huddle and you're looking in that coach's eyes, every player that's looking at him knows that that person is driving the ship and going to get the job done.
All right, let me stop it right there. Because he mentioned some stuff about accountability. And, that's going to be the next thing that we kind of listen to. Because I like, and obviously, every GM and whoever says the same type of things. I do kind of feel that he's a little bit more believable. Just by the way he carries himself. That's just my opinion. But he also said some things about accountability as far as players are concerned. But just from that right there, what you heard, Guillermo, the process that they're going to go about hiring a coach. And yes, there's 10, 11 guys. And then his the characteristics that he's looking for in a coach.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to give you the filler stuff. I don't think he's going to reveal too much. I mean, the way he was talking is like he had to be almost extra careful. I said, not even give a slither.
Exactly, right?
It's like, I'm looking for a coach who's had experience. It's like, what I mean? So, I didn't really take anything from it. Mike Breen, it seems like very professional interviews. It's one of those interviews just to get, his face out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just fair enough, right? But, he said he wants a coach that the players will look into their eyes, and it's like, all right, be careful because you might slip up and say
slip up. I was listening to this with Isaiah, and Isaiah was like, I know everyone's going to say he's talking about Tom Thibodeau, right? That's what Isaiah said. He's very, very careful, which what I'm going to say is, and I know we want more, right? We want more. We want to dig in and get some more information. But he's careful with his words and thoughtful with what he's saying. Yep. Although there are areas where there's edits, right? And coming up, the clip that I'm going to show coming up, I think, and this is just my opinion, I think there was telling. They asked him, Mike Breen asks him about the upcoming roster. Mm-hmm. He's going to name a few players. After he names the last player, it kind of cuts off abruptly and goes to the next thing. I feel like there was an edit there. The way he said that last player's name, it sounded like he was going to name some more players, right? So what I feel, this is just my opinion, I feel like, because the last player's name was his name. The last player was Julius Randle. It cuts off abruptly, mm-hmm. right? Because he's like, veterans like, and he says Julius, and then it cuts off, right? So I feel like he named some more players, and then afterwards was like, maybe I shouldn't say this player, maybe I shouldn't say that player. Let's edit this.
All right, can you play this slow?
I don't know if I can slow it down, but I can play it twice.
If you're playing it, are you playing it from YouTube?
Yeah, I have some timestamps in here, so but I'll play it twice so that we can hear it. All right, because it's not very long. I'm not going to show this one because it has highlights and stuff like that. We'll just listen to it. So Mike Breen asked him about returning players, and this is Leon Rose's response.
All right, let me hear this.
Well, I think, it's still a little early to call that just because of how much time we have until the draft, until free agency, in order to fully evaluate. With some of those decisions come after the draft. Right now, I look at Mitchell Robinson and RJ, two young core pieces. I look forward to, working with Kevin. I think he's just starting to scratch the surface. Frank Ntilikina, given the right circumstances, I think can really prosper. And Dennis Smith, that's a special talent right there. And we have some solid veterans, and Julius coming back.
When you were an age...
Bam, let's stop it right there. Because first of all, he said we have some solid veterans, plural. He said we have some solid veterans coming back. He said we have some solid veterans with Julius coming back, and then it cuts off, and Mike Breen goes on to start talking. I feel like he actually named some other names, and then they decided, let's cut it off.
Well, simple like this. When you watch the video, does it look like a flicker? Like as it's like the scene changes, you know.
This is what it is. When you're watching the video, the players that he's naming, they're showing highlights. And then it cuts back to Mike Breen and so you won't see it because it cuts back to Mike Breen and them. So you wouldn't see if there was a change of expression or something like that really quick.
And Mike Breen is not the one to really cut you off, or like he lets it kind of like sit a little bit. You know, he don't really cut you off.
Exactly. So I think that he named some other players, and then they said, wait a minute, let's not talk about those players. That's what I think. That's what I think.
I love this, man.
That's what I think. And maybe I'm just picking at stuff, but I feel like that's what happened. I feel like that maybe that's what happened. I seen a lot of people, you know, and I'm looking in there now, DSJ is garbage. Do you think that, I mean, you know, he was kind of, you know, didn't really go into detail about Kevin Knox or Frank Ntilikina, but just like, you know, Kevin Knox is just scratching the surface. Think Frank Ntilikina in the right situation could flourish. You know, he kind of gives you the answer with DSJ. It's like, you know, he's got that otherworldly talent or whatever he said. Does it sound like those guys he named, Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr., Julius Randle, does it sound like that's the 6 guys he knows are coming back?
Those other guys would be Portis, it'll be Bullock. I don't know what Dotson's on.
Dotson is going to be a free agent.
Free agent Taj.
Taj, Alonzo Trier.
Alonzo Trier.
He didn't mention Iggy. Although Iggy is on a 2-year contract, I think. Right?
Yeah, I think those guys. I think it might be a little different with those guys. Where it's like
right.
Mention everybody, but yeah. I mean, look, I would not put it past them that, you know, they wanted that. We don't want to talk about all these players. I don't blame them, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's smart. I mean, look, I even think you probably went too far with Randall, but I think you are right. You probably saw other guys who are most likely, at least on the surface, going to be here next year. Because then, you have a bunch of other role players who, even if you want them here back next year, it's not like you could see them as being like these cornerstone players. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, again, he said it right. But yeah, there was definitely an edit.
Yeah, definitely an edit there. And now, with Frank Ntilikina, you notice he said he thinks that Frank Ntilikina can flourish in the right situation, given the right situation. Does it sound like he believes that, you know, he didn't say, does it sound like he believes, you know, I'm going to play it again. I just want to hear it one more time. Right, I'll play it again. But does it sound like he believes this is the right situation for Frank Ntilikina or not? I'm going to play it one more time. All right, this is Leon Rose talking about returning players.
Well, I think, you know, it's still a little early to call that just because of how much time we have until the draft, until free agency, in order to fully evaluate. With some of those decisions come after the draft. Right now, I look at Mitchell Robinson and RJ, you know, 2 young core pieces. I look forward to, you know, working with Kevin. I think he's just starting to scratch the surface. Frank Ntilikina, given the right circumstances, I think can really prosper. And Dennis Smith, that's a special talent right there. And we have some solid veterans, and Julius coming back.
When you were
Okay, and cut it off right there. Okay, so he said with Frank Ntilikina, he said, given the right circumstances. Does that sound like, and I know we're picking at straws, people. We're just trying to get something. We're trying to get something. But does it sound like he has confidence in Frank Ntilikina? Or He's just like, hey, given the right circumstances, not saying whether or not those circumstances are going to be with us.
I mean, put it like this: if he was thinking about trading the guy, you would try to big him up as much as possible, right? You wouldn't really say something that could make his value be not as high with even the team that he's on now. So I would take it as he's saying, I think he sees value in Frank, and that might, I won't say it's as a shot, but it might be somewhat of an indictment on the previous regimes that couldn't find value in Frank. Because again, if you wanted to trade Frank, you wouldn't say that. You would say Frank, who we think is one of the best, blah, 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 and then you trade him, right? You try to build up his value as much as possible. So, you know, I think it's. I understand we're picking at straws and we're doing forensic analysis over here,
Right?
But you know,
Right.
I think it's the other way around. Which look, it would be smart. You have a guy who would defend like, I think it's the other way around.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that because I want Frank to be on the team. I like Frank.
But then he also didn't say anything about Randall. He could have said.
What'd you say?
He didn't say anything for Randall, right? He could have said Randall, who we still think is one of the premier power forwards in the game, and all this other crap. And
I think that, you know, he looks at Randall and says that he can, you know, probably thinks that, you know, or wants to give him another year. I'll say that.
No, but what I'm saying is that he didn't say that. Like when he said, like he didn't say that. But like,
yeah, he just said we got some good veterans coming back in Julius,
right.
But still he said veterans, and then cut it off, you know. But you know, talking about the young guys, of course, he said Mitchell Robinson, RJ is your young core with Frank and Kevin Knox and Dennis Smith Jr. You know, he just he didn't say anything about them being a core or anything. It's just like, I think Kevin Knox is just scratching the surface. I can't wait to work with him. Frank Ntilikina in the right circumstances, so on and so forth. Nate, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that Leon Rose is kind of he's not trying to give any hints of players he might want to keep and players he might want to let go. I think if I was to kind of pick his brain for a sec, I think that he's identified the core players that are going to be on this team regardless.
Well, at least the guys that are going to be coming back next year, let's say that.
Right,
with
exactly.
RJ and Mitch being the core.
Right, but the fact that he mentioned like Dennis Smith Jr., Ntilikina, Knox, that kind of means that they might be on the bubble, but he still thinks that they could still be part of this team. I would probably say they're probably less of a lock than the other guys are. But, you know, I think that also, too, the fact that he's kind of named them, that's a good sign because it's probably players that he identifies he needs to look into more and probably evaluate them more as far as a fit for whoever the new coach is going to be for this team. So I always say, like, whenever they don't name you, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. And I do think that the 6 players that he named are the players that he believes will definitely be on the roster for at least next year. And then Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina, Julius Randle. Right. You know, see what happens.
Yeah,
you know
I mean, I'm glad that he. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then of course, at any time, you know, the right trade could come up, and at least those last 4 guys could be moved. Probably Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett, unless something like really super comes along, they're probably not going to touch them. But those last 4 guys, you know, could probably
I'm glad he named Ntilikina. That's a good sign that he actually values his and he's probably because he was a top 10 draft pick, but still he still values him in that conversation, and Dennis Smith Jr. So
yeah,
kind of tells you where Alfred Payton might stand.
Yeah. Breen asked him a question that, well, let me get to a phone call and then I'll get to that. Let me get to a phone call first. Caller, you live with Nothing But Knicks. What's popping?
Hey, what's up, Sim?
I'm good, brother. How you feeling?
I'm all right, man.
So tell me, you know, what you've heard so far. So far, we've talked about, you know, we talked about some of the returning players that he named, you know, what he's looking for in a coach, Worldwide West. Talk to me real quick.
No, I mean, You know, maybe I'm just a crazy Knicks fan, but I like that it was an edited statement. He didn't go off the cuff. He didn't go and say anything crazy. He didn't, you know, he made sure everything he said was measured. Like we see, you know, we're watching it, and I watched it earlier, and, you know, there's cuts. You know, that's why they're showing videos. It's not one continuous thing, because they edited and chopped this thing right up to make sure that he said what what they wanted to have out. There wasn't anything to give us any, we're speculating because, like you guys were talking about earlier, I think the only players on this team that are 100% going to be here is RJ, Mitch, and Julius. I think he said Kevin, Frank, and Dennis Smith Jr. because I think he's letting it out there. Don't think they're going to be throwaways. You're going to have to give us something for him. We'd rather keep him than give him for a second-round pick. Let teams know, don't come in here with any weak offer for any of these guys if you're going to give them to us. And then, they cut him off when he said veterans. The only thing, I don't know. I got a little optimism. I got a little hope.
Okay.
All
right.
First time, you felt like you got a little hope.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see, man. We'll see. I want to get into. Thank you for the call, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, man. Have a good night.
Yeah. I want to get into what Mike Breen asked him, a very interesting question. And big shout out to Vaughn Allen. Thank you for becoming a 2000s New York Knicks member. And then Simmer Singh, thank you for becoming a 90s Knicks member. I appreciate it. And Bravo, I didn't forget about yours, but I'm going to get back to that when the time is right. But Mike Breen asked him an interesting question. He asked him, what drove him crazy as an agent when it came to playing time for players in development. Right? I thought that that was an interesting question, and the answer I thought was telling. All right, so let's listen to what Leon Rose had to say, and then what it went into talking about accountability and those type of things. Let's take a listen.
A great question, because that's probably one of the things that I'm really going to have to work on this side, because as an agent, you want your guy to play. You want your guy needs to play to develop. So you're always looking at it in that manner. In the short time that I've been here, we've had a lot of discussions about players playing but having to be held accountable, and players, having to earn the minutes. So even though they may be younger players, there has to be a standard. There has to be accountability in order for them to grow and to improve. Instead, as an agent, and some philosophies might be allowing players to play through their mistakes. But I think there has to be a balance there. And as an agent, I didn't want any balances. I wanted them to play as much as they could. Sitting in the chair I'm sitting in now, there's going to have to be accountability. There's going to have to be standards, and there's going to have to be, learning by coming out of the game and sitting there and learning from watching.
And obviously, you can't just have all young players. You need to balance a roster with veterans that can teach. So often players will tell you a key to their development was not just the coaching staff or the team they were at, but the veterans that they were able to watch day in and day out in their work. So signing free agents is clearly paramount. In recent years, the Knicks have not been able to grab those elite free agents. They've gotten good, solid pros, but not the elite free agents. How do you turn that around?
What we have to create is an environment where players are going to want to come here. And the way to do that is on the day-to-day with the players that we have, with the organization we have, and making sure that every aspect of that is going to be player-friendly. It's going to be first class. We're going to work as hard as we can to show people that this is a place that you want to be at. I mean, we have the greatest city in the world. We have an iconic arena, and we just need to create a culture that people are going to want to be part of.
Scott?
Okay, I'm gonna stop that right there. I didn't want to go that far, but I just let it go so that I didn't interrupt in the middle. But he mentioned he talked about accountability, and he talked about as an agent, he wanted his young guys to play no matter what, right? Put them out there, let them do what they do. But as the president, he's got to take a different viewpoint. And, and people ask, they look at last year and they say, well, Leon Rose came in and Mike Miller was the coach. And of course, I talked about this last night, but, the young guys weren't playing and veterans were playing and this and that. Well, from the way it sounds to me, he's going to feel a little bit more like, I don't care who you are that came in here, you're going to be held accountable and you've got to earn your stripes to be on the floor. How is that going to work for fans and coaches or whomever that believe, oh, you drafted LaMelo Ball, he better be on the floor 30 minutes? How's that going to go over? Because it doesn't seem like Leon Rose has that same principle. Go ahead, Nate.
Kind of reminds me of what Fizdale said about, you earn what you kill or whatever he said. And then we kind of knew that wasn't the case. He played favorites. It's going to be interesting perspective because as an agent, yes, you do want your players to play because you want them to get their contracts, get bigger contracts, make more money for you. So he's going to have to take that out of the equation when he's looking at who should be playing out there. I love the accountability part. I think that he's saying the right things as far as holding players accountable. I wish he would have gone as far as saying like, we need to really hold the young guys accountable, even though they are young guys. We got some leaders in this locker room that are possible leaders that we want to hold more accountable. I wish he kind of would have said that, but I guess maybe he's not sure yet who if they are those type of people. I mean, we think they are. I think RJ's got leader written all over him. Mitch too. But maybe he hasn't seen that yet. But I think he's saying the right things. I mean, it's just going to be interesting because he's an agent or he's a former agent that's now team president. So, are you going to let your agent mindset get in the way of what you're trying to do as a team president? So, I don't know. I mean, that's going to be an interesting battle he's going to have between himself and running this Knicks organization. Hopefully he takes that out of the equation, and understands that the best players should play. And it shouldn't matter what their draft status is. It shouldn't matter, how talented they are. The best players should play at the position. And hopefully that works.
But do New York Knicks fans, you're saying that, but do the fans believe that? Because I've been in this argument all season long. It started at the beginning of the season with Mitchell Robinson. I was in this argument all season long. All season long. Do fans believe that? And are fans going to, if they do see, if we draft someone and that player doesn't earn his spot the way that, our fans going to be like, oh, he was drafted 7th, put his ass on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Knicks fans, I would hope that the majority of Knicks fans have gotten past that and just want to win like I am. I just want to win, man. I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of these sorry ass games that we play that are meaningless. I want to win, man. I want to get back into the playoffs. I want to have the Garden rocking. I mean, I want this team the team is growing organically the right way. I just want to win, man. I mean, whatever it takes to put the right players on the court to win, that's all I care about. Anything else, I mean, yeah, sure, they want all the young guys to play, sure, but we're going to lose a lot of games because, like you said before, young guys don't win you games. They look good on the court, they look fun to watch, but they don't win games. So, or a lot of games. So, I mean, I just want this team to win.
I think they can win games if you have as long as you have the right pieces. I mean, when you talk about championships, then young guys for the most part are not winning championships, right? It's usually your veteran teams that win championships. But you can have a strong young team that gets you to the playoffs as long as you got the pieces that fit.
Right. And when I said that, I meant that, like, you can't win a team with just all young players. Like, you said that before. You got to have vets. You got to have players that have been there a little bit longer than the young guys, and you got to mix them all together, and put a team together, like you said.
And not just veterans, but some leaders, you know what I mean? Some leaders that can, when they get into a situation, and the young guys, eyes is, real super duper wide like Garfield, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh my goodness, the vet can be like, chill out, young fella. This is what you need to do. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Could just sit you down and, that young kid sits down for a minute and that vet is just in his ear, helping him get his confidence back or just helping him bring his nerves down so that he can go back out there on the floor and handle the situation. Just some guys like
Chris
that.
Paul, man. Did he say anything about Chris Paul or anything about? I didn't hear the whole interview.
Nah, he can't do that, man. That's tampering.
Oh, dang.
He can't do that.
Well, I mean, did Breen ask him like what he's going to look for free agency and all that? Did he say anything like that?
No, he didn't really. Well, he didn't really ask him, what are you looking for in free agency, but he just asked him how you, we heard how do you attract some players here. But Guillermo,
we know he wants a big man that can shoot.
Yeah, Guillermo, what do you think about what he was saying about accountability? And do you think that sounds like, there's going to be, there's going to be some veterans that are playing over young players?
I think look, he has to give answers that kind of fill all the boxes, so I wouldn't read too much into it. I think this is a team where he's going to try to see what he can get out of his younger players. So I do think he's going to play these guys, a good amount of minutes. He's also going to play the veterans because, again, even if the veterans aren't providing you the most dynamic production, those veterans are going to help tell you, all right, once this guy leaves, what do we need? You know what I mean? Do we need a guy who shoot better from the three, slash better to the basket, rebound better from this position? You know what I mean? Facilitate a little bit better. It gives you the roadmap, it gives you a blueprint. So I think there's going to be a nice mix, but I do think he's going to get to see where you get the most out, to see what you get from these young players. Because again, we get on Frank all we want to. We get on certain guys but again, Mitch was only averaging like 20 minutes last season. You know what I mean? Frank Ntilikina has not had, three coaches who have not played him consistently and not put him in, like he said, a basic environment to succeed, right? And it's not necessarily he's going to succeed. It's let's see if he can succeed in what we prefer as whatever system it is. And if he can't do it, we ship him out or we let him go. If he can, we keep him here. You know what I mean? So I do think and other young guys like Knox, we don't know what we have in Knox. I mean, we still don't really. I mean, you still got Trier. I hope they play him, but whatever. At this point. So, yeah, I think he just said something to fill all the boxes. So I think he's going to be healthy. I don't think we should look too much into it. You know what I mean? He also didn't mention the veterans. So the veterans are that important. He would have mentioned all those names and wouldn't had his assistant or his video people to
yeah, but maybe those aren't the veterans that he wants. That's what I'm saying. Maybe those aren't the veterans that he wants. Maybe, it could be other veterans. Because he, also he could have said, because this would have checked the box too. Right? So, I mean, I don't know. Because he also could have said, I want my young guys to get out there and play regardless. And it would have satisfied a lot of fans. And a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? He said, we've been going through this conversation all season long or, however much time about, managing that. And what he said, what it comes down to is, I just want everyone to be accountable, no matter if you're young or old, I guess.
So he was like the previous regimes who said, these idiots said, oh, well, it came out, but I'm looking to make the playoffs. And then it's like, well, then you trace back their strategy, which was getting all these veterans, and it flopped in the face. So I think he's just saying stuff to be safe, right? I mean, it fills all the boxes. It's fun to look into it. Don't get me wrong. Like we're doing video editing, forensics and stuff, but he's saying the right stuff. So you can't really pull him one way or the other. And I guess that's being
that's true. But and of course, this is just based on reports, so there's really nothing to it besides hearsay. But if he really does want to try to make the playoffs, you know, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Let me get to a phone call, and then we'll come back and talk about how he's evaluating current players and, you know, his approach to the draft. It's a phone call. Caller, you're live with Nothing But Knicks. What's popping?
Hey, what's up, Sam? This is Bravo here. How's it going?
I'm good, man. How you feeling?
I'm doing great, thanks. First of all, I want to send a shout-out to Guillermo and Nate and Isaiah. I know Isaiah is not there, but I always enjoy watching your show, man.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. We try to bring some fun and enjoyment to everybody. You know, every once in a while you get a hot mic that pisses some people off, but we try to keep it cool, you know.
Yeah,
I try to pontificate coolness.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give you my feedback about Leon Rose, what he said. This is what I understand from my opinion. From his conversation, the second part you replayed twice about the players, I can bet by 90% Bobby Portis, Wayne Ellington, Elfrid Payton are gone. I don't think they're going to be coming back. He didn't even mention their name. I can see them being waived in the offseason. That's first. Second of all, Mitchell Robinson, R.J. Barrett are probably, he mentioned them first, and he mentioned them in a really like a good way. I think they're going to be untradeable assets for the New York Knicks. Now, the most interesting conversation, he mentioned Dennis Smith Jr. as a special talent. That means he views Dennis Smith Jr. as a special talent. It doesn't mean he's part of the future. It's probably like he look at Dennis Smith Jr. as probably tradable first-round pick asset kind of type of player. So that I kind of feel like he is possibly the Knicks are interested in trading Dennis Smith Jr. for probably a first-round pick because he still feel like he's a special talent. He's trying to get a good return value for Dennis Smith Jr. This is how I understand from that conversation. Now, the last two players, Kevin Knox, I don't know what he means by scratch the surface because we heard this in the news. He doesn't really view we heard that he is not really high on Kevin Knox. And I don't know what that means, really.
See,
is he really gonna be...
But see, I think that was I think that was more of a headline. That's just my opinion. I think it was more like he was disappointed that he didn't get a chance to see more of him because the season was cut short. So he's not sure what they really have in him. People took that to say that he was disappointed and didn't like him. I don't know if that's what he really meant. I mean, obviously, none of us know what he really meant. I feel like it was more that was the headline, and then people interpreted it that way with Kevin Knox, where from what I read, it was more like he was disappointed that he didn't get to see more of Kevin Knox because he doesn't know. He's not sure. You there? Oh, I must have lost him. But anyway, let's get into, this will be the last clip that I'm gonna play, and then we'll talk about it and take a few more calls. Let's listen to him talk about how they are evaluating the draft and current players without there being any live games, and what his approach is to drafting. Let's take a listen.
Well, I'll break it into a couple different groups. First of all, with regard to the draft, that's a process that goes on all year, and Scott and the scouts have been on that all year. And with regard to that, we've continued with our draft calls. We've reviewed a ton of film, and we are now currently Zoom interviewing the prospects for the draft. And we obviously missed out on an NCAA tournament. We don't know what's going to be for a combine, and we're going to make the most of it. And in a positive light, we have a lot more time. We were preparing as if we were drafting on June 25th. Now we have a lot more time in order to prepare that much more. With regard to our current players, I've personally watched a lot of film, had a lot of discussions with Scott and with others in order to get up to speed and to be in a position to be able to make the best decisions that I can. And hopefully we're going to have, the 8 teams that aren't in it, we're now discussing having OTAs, other team activities that potentially will allow us to get together and get some work in.
So, Leon, you've been evaluating players your whole adult life from a different angle, from a different profession, obviously, as an agent. What was your approach as an agent when you were trying to figure out, okay, is this a young man that I want to represent?
The talent, obviously, is always of paramount importance. And then, beyond the talent, we're looking at the character, we're looking at who the person is, and we're looking at how the fit is. Because one of the things I always believed as an agent was I represented the client and the client represented me. And decisions were made based on that in who we got involved with. And we relied upon, it's funny, we relied upon our relationships with NBA scouts. And now here I am sitting on the other end of the fence relying on the same people, but within our organization.
You don't know what position you're going to be in the draft yet, but have you felt like a strong way on a philosophy of, say, you go best player available? Do you go to fill a specific need? Do you go, we want the most athletic player out there because the league athleticism is off the charts? Or do you go with a player with a specific skill set that is important to the league? Have you developed in terms of what you want going forward in terms of making those selections?
I mean, honestly speaking, I have not developed yet to that point. But I'm going to be relying heavily on my group and, having another 3.5, 4 months until we get there, I'll think I'll be very comfortable in making the call.
All right. Again, you can't say who you're thinking of picking, but just to whet the fans' appetite, have there been players that you've watched, have seen, or heard from your scouts that they really have they got their eye on a couple of guys that could have a chance to be special?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. This draft, there's a couple guys that might stand out, and then after that, I think that there is a lot of equality. I think that there is a lot of guys that are close with different skill sets, different positives, different negatives. So, but yeah, it's funny. Each scout, there's varying opinions, a lot more varying opinions than in past years.
Much more with new.
All right. Let me take that up out of there. For the most part, we don't have any more intel, into what he's gonna do in the draft or anything like that. They've been interviewing players by Zoom, and like probably most of the league has been doing. I don't know, how much you can get from that. It's just something about being in with any person, just there with that person, so you can get a feel for their energy and all that kind of stuff. So, we really don't have any more, honestly, throughout the whole thing, we don't have any more information than we had before, right? We don't really have any more information. The only thing it really did is cause us to speculate and give us something to talk about. And we don't have any more information than we had before. I mean, can you think of anything that you took out of this that you can say, okay, I get it, or yep, I know what he wants to do? Not even with the coaching search, because my biggest question with the coaching search is, what's the plan? What's the strategy? You got on one end, you got Thibodeau, who is an experienced coach, and then you got guys who've never coached, who've never had a head coaching job in the NBA. What's the plan? What's the strategy there? So we really didn't learn too much more from this.
They did already have the Atkinson interview, right?
Did they already have it? I'm not sure.
Because they had a Thibodeau interview, right? I
think I read something about them having like like shorter interviews over Zoom, and then they're gonna have some longer interviews later. There is one thing we did learn from it. There is one thing we did learn. They want to have the coaching hire done somewhere near the end of July.
Right.
We learned that. So
which doesn't give them a lot of time.
We got another month.
Maybe a month.
We got another month until they make a coaching hire. So I don't know. We didn't learn too much. Let me get to a call here. Caller, you live on Nothing But Knicks. What's poppin'?
Hey, Simeon. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I just wanted to say about Leon Rose that after hearing what he's had to say today, that I still haven't made up my decision on this guy. I feel for our Knicks fans that he has to prove himself. Like, we got to see what moves he makes, starting with the draft and free agency. I'm not going to get too excited yet about this guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm excited about the things that the way he put together the front office. I am excited about that. Not that I know every single, no in-depth information about every single guy that has up there. But what I do like is every guy seems to have their own little role, their own little specialty. And he's, put them together to run his front office. And it sounds like he's going to rely on his guys for a lot of information, because he's new at this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can respect this. Kind of like when you have a president that's responsible, he puts together a cabinet of intelligent people to advise him, and he makes the final decision, but he has smart people around him, which allows him to succeed. So I guess it's very similar in that regard.
Right. And then his job can be, his job can be more of finding the talented people in the front office and putting them. He doesn't have to make it. He doesn't have to know everything. No president of any kind of organization has to know everything. You're right. They just got to put people in place that know what they're doing.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from on that. I just want to tell you that I do agree with you on just the draft when it comes to scouting. There's no way you can get anything from watching these guys on, YouTube or Zoom without having them come in front of you, because there's certain things that you find when they work out, right in front of your scouts and yourself versus watching them, some random clips where they're going to look good,
Right. And even just sitting down and having that face-to-face interview, just your body language could be one thing when you're not face-to-face with somebody and you're doing it through a camera. But when you sit down with someone face-to-face, everything changes. You know what I'm saying? Just, the chemistry between the two people is different than when you're doing it through the phone. You know what I mean? So that
yeah, I agree. Like, I think you could see things from someone when you interview them one-on-one versus, like you said, over the phone. It's kind of like totally different, and I think they reveal things about you about themselves mentally. Like, you could see where they're at, if they're mature, if they're immature, or what's going on up there.
Right. Exactly. I mean, look, Phil Jackson sat down with Dennis Smith Jr. and asked him to eat octopus, was it?
Yeah, I think it was octopus.
Right? Sat down and asked him to eat octopus. I think Dennis Smith Jr. said he did eat. Maybe he didn't eat it. I don't know. Right?
I actually remember that he did not eat the octopus.
He did not eat the octopus, right? But if he was on Zoom, he could have put the octopus down and picked up something else and ate it and be like, oh, yeah, that was good. Something, I don't know. I'm just saying. I mean, that face-to-face meeting is important. Sitting down with someone face-to-face, and then obviously watching them work out in person is clearly important, because it's hard to determine, or tough to determine how hard somebody is going through video, how fast they're going. It's just hard to determine those type of things when you're watching on a video.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. I feel with a lot of these kids, they can look on the videos because they can make themselves look better than what they are. Like, these videos today, they make these kids look like they're Wilt Chamberlain from, like, the 1960s when you see their highlights.
Yeah, that's what they do. I mean, that's what they do. That's why, well, this is speaking, going from high school to college. College coaches, everyone thinks college coaches like, these highlight tapes. They really don't. They, when they ask you to send a tape, they want to see an entire game. They might look at a couple of highlights and say, okay, all right, maybe this person can play some ball, and then they see who you're playing against, right? You get some players who, they played 20 games in their career, and they take all 20 shots that they made, throughout those 20 games and put them together and cut it up, into a 3-minute video, and it looks like they did something, and all those baskets came against a different team. You know what I mean? Coaches want to see, and then when the coach actually watches the game, they say, oh, this guy made 1 basket. He got 2 rebounds. But the video looks like he's doing a whole bunch of work. So, people want to see full games. They want to see you up close and in person. They want to see your temperament on the bench. They want to see, the way that you talk to your coach, all of that kind of stuff, the way that you interact with your teammates. They want to be able to watch all of those things so they can determine something about your personality, who you are as a player, your leadership qualities. You can't get that just from a videotape and workouts. You know what I mean? You got to be able to see people up close and personal. So it's very hard, although they've been working all season long.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're 100% correct on that. You had to go through all the stuff that you mentioned. I remember hearing an interview from some NBA GM. I can't remember who it was, but he was saying that due to this pandemic, there's some teams that are not going to be prepared because they just have bad staff and they're just lazy in general, that they don't pay attention, when it comes to scouting these kids. And they do their scouting in the last minute, right when the draft comes around. So I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Hey, man, I appreciate your call, bro.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. All right. Let me get back to these guys here. Oh, man. Any last things? Actually, I have a couple things I want to get to from the chat. Bravo asked me, what do I think of Kevin Knox? Scratch the surface. Is he gone? Thank you for the super chat, Bravo. What I think of Kevin Knox is, he's a young guy that has a lot to learn. Let's put it like that. He has a lot of work to do. Is he gone? Not going into next season. I don't think so. Unless some kind of trade comes up. I don't think so. But next season he's got to prove that he's making some progress somewhere. I think next season is a really important one for Kevin Knox, as it pertains to his career with the New York Knicks, at least. I think he's got to prove, something's got to see something that you can stick your fork in. I think. You got to see something you can stick your fork in. And then, who is it? Somebody's on here asking me about my ideal off season. What is my ideal off season without getting Brandon Ingram? I have to think about that. I'm going to start working on a video just talking about, what would be some top trades of mine. I'd have to think about that. But, just really think about what an ideal offseason for me would be. Because I'm tired of losing, and I do want to try to make the playoffs. Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
So something that Leon Rose said that I think might be a little bit of a precursor going into the draft. The fact that he talked about Ntilikina and DSJ makes me think that point guard might not be as big as need as we think it is. That the fact is that if he sees 2 young point guards that he named personally, that if he thinks they have the ability, they might not have to go with a point guard. They might go with the best player available at that position, at the number that we're going to be drafted at. I just kind of think that the fact that he named both of them, I don't think point guard's as big as need as we think it is.
I think you have to be careful thinking that because, again, draft is coming up. So everything he's saying, or even you thinking that, it could be a smokescreen, right? You got to be as strategic as possible because say we don't get LaMelo Ball, but you like Karen Lewis, right? You might want to give off the impression that you don't want a point guard. So no one else.
But we have 2 21-year-old or 2 21 or 22-year-olds on the team.
It doesn't matter. It's a new regime. They could come in and have a totally new vision. to the team. Even I'm not saying RJ, but even so.
Well, I mean, it could go the other way too. I mean, they could very well see that they might like the point guards they have now on the roster.
Yeah, I'm saying they might, but what I'm trying to say is like you can't read into too much what he said because he really didn't give anything. And even if this guy's an agent, right? So he knows how the game goes. Where he, working through back channels, I'm pretty sure he's talked to coaches where it's like, or teams where it's like, all right, position yourself this way. So maybe my guy, you could draft this guy because a lot of these agents probably do that where, look, we don't want to get drafted by the Sacramento Kings or the Knicks. So we want you to kind of fall further so this team that's actually decent can pick you up. So give out these smoke screens to say, yeah, we're content with our point guard position, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, they're drafting a point guard. You know what I mean? So I think right now is a lot of smoke screen. Only time I think we're going to be sure as to or get more certainty is when they actually get the draft position. And even then they could trade around, they could lie and put smoke screens, but usually that's when you start to see teams kind of, the teams, at least the first and the second, they're like, it'll be like, oh, are you guys going to take Zion? It's like, yeah, we are definitely going to take Zion. So it's like,
well, I mean, they've got 2 picks that they can definitely look at a point guard with either one of those picks, but I don't know. I look at what we have on the roster.
And look, I'm gonna tell you what, with Leon Rose, this is just my opinion, with him and World Wide West, as far as that draft, they probably have so much intel as far as which agents want their players to go to certain places. Because he, as an agent, before he became the Knicks president, he was doing that kind of work with he was scouting these players. He was talking to people. He was talking to parents, trying to figure out, okay, who am I going to bring in from this draft class?
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? So he has some intel as far as where parents want their players to go, where players might want to go, where those agents might want them to go, where the college coaches think is the best fit for them. He has some of that intel. I can guarantee that. And which can be really, really good come draft time. Really, really good because he can position the team, to put them in the right situation, or he knows this player wants to go here. But you know what? Let's have a conversation with somebody and talk about how we can provide that same type of environment that they're looking for, or whatever it is. Like, because he has that intel, could be very, very, very good. Payback Carter asked, do I think Leon Rose will focus on building this team around Mitch and RJ? I think he looks at them as core pieces. I don't know if he looks at them as franchise changers. Right? He said core. I don't know core. Core doesn't always mean to me that they're your franchise changers. I think that's still to be determined as to whether or not he wants to focus on them guys, and he'll probably, which is why he was Breen did ask him. We didn't hear this part. At least I don't think. But Breen did ask him, was he disappointed that the Knicks weren't going to be playing in Orlando? And he said only disappointed because he didn't really get, he wanted to see the guys play some more so that he can continue to evaluate. So I think, I think he's probably looking at Mitch and RJ right now. He knows that they're definitely core pieces, and can they develop to be franchise changing? I think he's probably looking at it that way. But yeah, we'll see, man. Listen, we didn't learn too much. What'd you say?
Yeah. I was just gonna say basically what you just said, man.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't learn too much. Just gave us something to talk about for the night, but we didn't learn too much.
Little teaser.
Yeah, little teaser. I guess we'll learn some more come July when they hire the coach. And then obviously, like he said, he wants the coach to be collaborative so that they can talk about players and talk about playing styles and things like that. Once we get a coach, I think we'll start to, maybe the picture will be clearer as to the type of players that he wants, maybe the type of players that coach might want to keep, might want to move, what they might be looking at in the draft. And then obviously when we get that draft position, the picture starts to become a little bit more clear. Right now, everything is just abstract.
I have one question before you leave, Sim. Do you think that is there something to the fact that these coaches that we're considering that other teams haven't picked them up yet?
Who's fired their coach?
I mean, it's probably some teams out there.
I'm pretty sure there's some teams out there looking. Like you're talking about some of the assistants or the older veteran coaches?
Like Tibbs, Atkinson. We already know the issue with Mark Jackson, but at least those two.
Right. I mean, that now I think with Thibodeau, he's still under well, not under contract, but I think he's still getting paid with Minnesota. Right. So I don't know how much that plays into it, but I think he's still getting paid with Minnesota. Kenny Atkinson, I don't know.
Have any of the coaches been fired so far since the season suspended at all?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because you would figure the teams that make Orlando, this will probably be the perfect time if they were going to make a coaching change. They would, announce it and start looking for candidates.
The teams haven't been going for these guys. Just not say that it should mean anything, and maybe the landscape, but it's just interesting that. I mean, I've seen it all the time in baseball where literally coaches the Mets have looked at, the Joe Girardi and stuff. There's like a bunch of other teams looking to get those guys. So,
right.
Just asking.
I think the Knicks have only been the ones that have been looking for a coach, really. I haven't heard any other teams really
aren't the
looking
Nets
for
looking for a coach?
Oh, yeah, the Nets, yeah.
The Nets are looking for a coach, right?
Yeah, I think most likely going to get higher.
Yeah.
I think Tyrone Lue has been the name, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Right.
And Jason Kidd was about to go someplace, right?
He's with the Lakers.
He was getting ready to go. I don't know.
Or I saw someone Bleach Report where he had a team lined up or something like that. So
he's on the Lakers staff.
Yeah, he's on the Lakers staff as an assistant.
He had like an interview lined up somewhere. I saw him Bleach Report maybe the beginning of this week.
Oh,
so
I don't know.
I could see them firing Vogel and making him the head coach. That's why they put him on the staff.
No, I agree. But again, I mean, if LeBron and Anthony Davis, things are going fairly decent for them. So it's probably like Jason Kidd's like, all right, maybe this.
Right. Right. Maybe this ain't going to work. Yeah.
He'll go to the New York the Nets.
Would he go back to the Nets? I don't think they'd bring him back. They're not going to bring him back.
Oh, that's right. He did coach. Yeah.
Kyrie and KD, they want a yes man. They want a Tyrone Lue. So
yep. That's exactly what they want. Tyrone Lue. That's going to be terrible.
I can't even coach.
I'm telling you, if Tyrone Lue ends up being the Nets coach,
that'll be good for New York.
It's going to be a disaster in Brooklyn, bro. I think it's going to be a disaster in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn's just cursed, man. They can't catch a break.
Well, they caught a break a few years ago. I think we're cursed.
But Kyrie with all his injuries and all that, man, and the way he's been talking, man.
Yeah.
Good for the Knicks.
Plus, if you get Atkinson. Well, either way would be good if they lose. But
hey, Sim.
Yeah.
I got 8 minutes, man. Give me a shout out for my birthday. I'm 34 today.
Wait a minute. You said you got. Oh yeah, that's right. Because you're over there in Texas, so you still got some time, huh?
Yeah.
Give a big shout out to Nate. For how old are you today, Nate?
34, man.
34 years old. Nate's 34 years old today. Give a shout out to Nate for his 34th birthday, please, ladies and gentlemen. The man's
appreciate it, man. Thank you.
34 years old today. Look about 44, but no, I'm just
This quarantine, man. This quarantine beard is getting better every day. I'm gonna start getting my Kane and my Gandalf look.
Nah, I feel you. All right, well, I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I appreciate you guys for jumping on with me so late. And let me see. Tomorrow's Thursday, man. I don't know what I have planned for tomorrow. I might jump on and do a question and answer, something like that. But I'll be on Friday night after we do Underground Radio. Man, these 257 people in here, I'm asking you all, come to the front stoop on Friday at 9 p.m. and check out Underground Radio as we listen to independent music. Help some of these independent artists get paid. what I'm saying? We got 253 people in here. We could have 253 people on that stream, help some of these independent artists. You know, all the ad revenue from those videos go to the independent artists, man. We're trying to help these guys get some recognition. You know, get some recognition. So go to the Front Stoop and subscribe and ring that notification bell, right? YouTube.com/Front Stoop Live. Ask you guys to help me out, man. You know, I mean, you know, listen, we have almost 22,000 subscribers on the Front Stoop, but I'm trying to get these videos with these independent artists so that their video, so that the more views on the video, the more money goes to these independent artists. So we have about anywhere between 7 and 10 independent artists playing, you know, where we play their music and we talk about the artists, we review the music, good, bad, whatever it is. Sometimes they call in and talk about the songs that they made. Sometimes they call in and tell us that, you know, we don't know music or whatever. You know what I mean?
We don't know music.
But yeah, it's pretty fun though. You know what I'm saying? It's fun just listening to some of the music that comes across. It'd probably be more fun if you listen to some of the music that I turned down, because some of that music is terrible. But anyway, please, YouTube.com/Front Stoop Live. Subscribe, ring that notification bell, ladies and gentlemen, so that you'll be notified Friday at 9 o'clock. Usually goes from about 9 to 11. Now we'll just be listening to independent hip hop music, and we'll be reviewing it. You can call in and tell us how you think about it or whatever it is. It's fun. All right. Well, I'm gonna get up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you tomorrow night, most likely, and hopefully I'll see you Friday on the Front Stoop. All right.
Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night, fellas. Peaceful.
You too. Later.